There are two 1944S steel cents known to exist in the entire world. Just two. And only one of them has never been circulated. That coin sold at heritage auctions for over $373,000. Stick around because that's number 10. These are 10 more pennies that you can retire from, all verified at auction, all with real PCGS and NGC grades behind them. And if you missed the first video, don't worry, these 10 are completely different coins. Stay until the end. The last one is the only uncirculated example of its kind on Earth. You know the story of the 1943 copper penny, the coin that wasn't supposed to be copper. Well, the mint pulled the same trick 40 years later, and almost nobody noticed. In 1982, the mint switched from bronze to copper-plated zinc. That transition didn't go perfectly. Some leftover bronze planchets from 1982 got stuck in the bins, and when the 1983 die started running, they hit a few of them. The result is a 1983 penny that looks right, dates right, but weighs wrong. This one is 3.1 grams. A normal 1983 penny is 2.5 grams. That half-gram difference is the difference between a cent and a story. Heritage Auctions has only found 3 appearances of the 1983 bronze cent in their auction archives, going all the way back through their records. This one graded Mint State 61 Red Brown by NGC. Light mahogany surfaces, forest green patina near the rims, well struck and completely unworn, sold at Heritage Auctions for $4,800. Most people know there's a large date and a small date for 1960 pennies. What most people don't know is how dramatically the value changes when you put those things together. Small date, proof, and a grade that almost nobody achieves. This is a 1960 small date proof cent graded Proof 68 Red Deep Cameo by PCGS. That Deep Cameo designation means the fields are profoundly reflective, mirror-like, while the devices are sharply struck and frosted. The contrast is striking. At Proof 68 Red Deep Cameo, this coin is tied for the finest of its kind certified by PCGS. The population is 1 out of 11. Only one other coin matches it, none grade higher. Profoundly reflective copper-orange fields, sharply struck frosted devices. The coin is 95% copper, 5% tin and zinc, exactly as it should be, and it sold at Heritage Auctions for $5,187. There are 3 double-die Lincoln cents that every serious collector knows by name. The 1955, the 1969S, and this one, the 1972. What makes the 1972 double die different from a lot of varieties is that you don't need a loupe, you don't need a microscope, you can see it with the naked eye. The date is doubled, the lettering on the obverse is doubled, In God We Trust, doubled, Liberty, doubled, everything. This example was graded Mint State 67 Plus Red by PCGS, FS101, the first listed variety, the one with the strongest doubling. Population at the time of sale, 81 coins graded Mint State 67, only 5 in Mint State 67 Plus, and just 1 graded higher. Satiny orange mint luster, both sides boldly defined. That plus designation on the 67 is significant. 2 Mint State 67 coins can look completely different. One barely makes the grade, one almost reaches 68. The plus tells you exactly which one this is. It sold at Heritage Auctions in November 2020 for $7,200. This coin has a label on the slab that says something you almost never see, Discovery Coin. In 1982, the Denver Mint produced 7 different varieties of the Lincoln cent, 4 large date and 3 small date in both the old bronze composition and the new copper-plated zinc. 6 of these 7 variants were known to exist. The 7th, the Denver small date on a bronze planchet, was considered a ghost. Collectors suspected it might exist, but nobody could find one. Then on November 23, 2016, a man named Paul Malone sat down with a 5,000-piece bag of pennies from a local bank. He didn't look at them, he weighed them, every single one on a homemade scale, pulling out the heavy ones, and he found it. The Denver minted small date bronze cent, 3.08 grams, a coin that numismatists had been chasing for decades. At the time this sold, only one other example had been certified, also AU58, which raised some questions on whether it was even a separate coin or the same coin resubmitted. The surfaces are bright with light brown patina accented by a red outline around the devices. This Discovery coin sold at Heritage Auctions in September 2019 for $8,400. It had previously sold in 2017 for $18,800, which tells you something about how the market moved. Look at the back of any Lincoln Memorial cent. Find the word America. Now look at the space between the A and the M. On most coins, there's a clear gap, but on the 1992 D, close AM, those two letters are touching. The A and the M in America are pressed right up against each other. A reverse die that was supposed to be used the following year found its way into production a year early. PCGS believes only 15 to 20 of these exist in the entire world, and the number is generous. The certification totals are inflated by collectors submitting the same coin multiple times hoping for a higher grade. This example is graded Mint State 66 Red. Both sides fully red with swirling luster and a full strike throughout. The population at the time of the sale was 3 in Mint State 66, with 0 graded higher. An incomparable opportunity for Lincoln Cent specialists, as Heritage Auctions described it. The most recent sale, Heritage Auctions, November 2023, $9,600. The 1931S is a coin that collectors know well. It shows up in collections. It turns up in coin shows. It grades up to Mint State 65 Red. It's not impossible to find them, but then something happens. At Mint State 66 Red, examples are scarcely seen. The availability drops off the cliff, and at Mint State 67 Red, there is exactly one. One coin in the entire world certified at any grading service at Mint State 67 Red. And this is it. Sharp strike, frosty copper orange and gold luster, not a single distracting abrasion. A tiny speck near Lincoln's shoulder at 8 o'clock serves as a pedigree marker, how Heritage Auction identified it across multiple appearances. It's even been pictured as a plate coin on PCGS CoinFacts. For registry set collectors, this coin is unequaled. There is nothing above it, nothing beside it. It stands alone. This sold at Heritage Auctions in 2025 for $43,200. This coin has one of the most remarkable backstories in 20th century American numismatics, and that's not an exaggeration. When counterfeit double die cents dated 1969 started appearing in the early 1970s, government agents began confiscating every example they came across. The legitimate coins, the real ones, were all swept up in the dragnet. The Mint authenticated some and returned them. Others were reportedly destroyed. That early chaos made the 1969S double die notorious, and it made genuine examples nearly impossible to find in Mint State. Then on October 3, 2007, a collector named Michael Tremonti found one in an unsearched roll of 1969S cents. He brought it to expert Ken Potter. Potter was skeptical. He expected to find strike doubling, a common imitation. What he actually found was this: a brilliant uncirculated 1969S Lincoln cent with full obverse doubling on the date and liberty. Visible, unmistakable, real. Potter's words at the time: "I was totally amazed that this coin could turn up out of nowhere. What an incredible find. This could be a six-figure coin." He was right. This is the sole example in Mint State 64 Plus Red, the third finest graded piece between PCGS and NGC combined. CAC approved, listed in the 100 greatest U.S. modern coins, previously sold at Heritage Auctions in January 2008 for $126,500. Most recently, it sold at Heritage Auctions in January 2026 for $97,600. You know the 1909 SVDB. Everybody knows the 1909 SVDB. It's on every key date list. It's in every beginner's guide. 484,000 minted. Famous. The 1914D is even more rare. Not more famous, more rare. And Heritage Auctions has said it directly. The 1914 D cent is rarer in high red grades than the 1909 SVDB. Here's the proof. PCGS has certified 285 examples of the 1909 SVDB in Mint State 66, in Mint State 66 Red, and another 33 in Mint State 66 Plus Red. For the 1914D, 8 Mint State 66 Reds, 2 Mint State 66 Plus Reds total. This coin is one of those 2 Mint State 66 Plus Red examples, tied for the finest known at any grading service. Rich copper-orange satin luster, bold strike on both sides, luminous fields on an unabraded surface. The other Mint State 66 Plus Red 1914D lives in the Hansen Registry set. It doesn't come out to auction. This is the one that does. Population, 10 in Mint State 66, just 2 in Mint State 66 Plus, 0 finer as of November 2025. It sold at Heritage Auctions in January 2026 for $128,100. There's a rumor that most coin collectors know. Ford Motor Company will give you a car if you bring them a genuine 1943 copper penny. The rumor's false. Ford never offered this, but for decades it drove everyday people to check their change, dig through their coin jars, quiz their grandparents, and show up at Coin Dollars with what they were certain was a copper 1943 cent, only to put a magnet to it and watch it stick. The 1943 cent was supposed to be steel, all of them. The country needed copper for the war effort, but a few leftover bronze planchets from 1942 got stuck in machinery, and when the 1943 die started running, they struck copper. About 20 genuine examples are believed to exist across all three mints. This one from the Bruce S. Sherman Collection ranks 8th or 9th finest of those 20. It's graded about uncirculated 55 by PCGS with the CAC green sticker, which means that this coin is solidly original at the high end of its grade. Chestnut brown patina, satiny surfaces, bold stripe, listed in the 100 greatest U.S. coins, pictured on PCGS CoinFacts. It previously sold in 2013 for $317,250. Then in 2014 for $329,000. Then it went into the Sherman Collection and disappeared from the market. It came back in April 2025 and sold at Heritage Auctions for $312,000. We started this video with it. Here it is. In 1944, the mint went back to copper. Steel was out. But just like 1943 had a few bronze planchets stuck in their machinery, 1944 had a few steel ones. The Denver cents and the Philadelphia cents were known. Collectors had found them. Dealers had sold them. The 1944S was different. The San Francisco Mint didn't participate in producing Belgian 2-franc coinage, the source of the leftover steel planchets. So a 1944S steel cent should be essentially impossible. A steel planchet would have had to physically travel from the wrong bin to the wrong mint to the wrong dies, and somehow it happened. For decades, the only 1944S steel cent was an XF example, cleaned, that sold for $5,390 in 1983. That was it. One coin, worn and cleaned. Then this one appeared, the only uncirculated 1944S steel cent on Earth, one of the only two known, graded Mint State 66 by NGC, 3 full grade points above the finest of any other 1944 dated steel cent certified anywhere. Booming luster, no visible marks or spots, very sharp strike. The 1944S steel cent, the only Mint State example known to exist anywhere. It sold at Heritage Auctions in July 2008 for $373,750. Given what comparable transitional errors have done at auction in the years since, the current market value of this coin would be substantially higher. 10 pennies, real grades, real auction results, every single one verified at Heritage Auctions. If you want to see the first 10, the original video that started this, it's linked in the description and pinned in the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's a good time. I post a new video every week. Thanks for watching.